start our program, we talked in the makeup room that you said you resent the word railway diplomacy. You think we should leave politics away.
Right. I don't like this phrase of diplomacy railway or railway diplomacy. I think we should not label that. Business is a business. Project is a project. Of course, the outcome of any project China had internationally will have some influence of politics or diplomacy or diplomatic relations with the other countries we are working with. But actually, we should really concentrate for the project itself. We should try to do the right job. If we can really do the right job, and we should not label this railway diplomacy, then I think for the Western media or the other people, they should not really label this, because if we would insist for this diplomacy railway, sometimes we might offer the opportunity for others, they would play some other games behind such a project.
And China is also thinking about investing, combining with operations, because some of the railways China built has already failed in terms of operation. Yeah. So should China be so deeply involved in foreign countries' infrastructure?
Yeah, I would say that here in the last decade or so, China has been doing a lot. We call it BOT, build, operate, and transfer. The difference with China, with the rest of the world, especially those developing countries, if you would just complete a project for them, if you are not going to run, to operate, then they have difficulty to take over. So they have a learning curve. You have to train them, you have to help them. If any project China built, and we continue to offer them operation, to help them, to train the local people, as well as to maintain the performance of the project, then such a project will be more successful than used to be. So this is a kind of PPP arrangement, which we call it BOT or BO or others. I think this could consolidate China's relations with the potential partners for all these projects.
Kevin Tang, our studio guest here has pointed out that not just building it, but also operating it and ultimately transform it into a local infrastructure. How would you think of the Chinese companies' involvement in local people's lives? Do you think in general it's having a real harmony with the local people?
Chinese investments are starting to come into Brazil in a very big way, and there has always been great friendship and a great relation between both countries. If you look at the BRICS countries, for example, Brazil is probably one of the few that has no active disputes in any major sphere with China. Brazilian and Chinese people have been friends and getting along very well. It's important to notice that China, by investing in Brazil and not only selling its goods and actually taking this relationship to the next level, if I might say, showing that it is committed to Brazil even in this tough time, will ultimately benefit both Brazil and China. There has been a very good, so far, there has been a very good receival of this Chinese investment here in Brazil, and there's no reason to think why it wouldn't be so in the future. Of course, there must be very appropriate care taken to make sure that when Chinese companies do arrive in Brazil and that they are able to integrate and have developed greater active involvement in the local communities. But overall, China has been for Brazil a very big partner, and in the good and in the bad times. So I believe that this will continue to be so in the future.
The reason why we're talking about this as a way of diplomacy is because it's not only bringing investment, but also bringing the characters from Chinese companies to local people. So Mr. Wang, do you think the railway diplomacy will carry it on like a legacy, just like the ping pong diplomacy, as well as the panda diplomacy?
First of all, I would like to say I quite agree with my friend. Personally, I don't like the term railway diplomacy very much. And I think we just do it. We just build railway. And we just, well, operate after the railway is completed. And the objective result would be good diplomatic result. If we take it as a slogan, and some other people may take advantage of that and say China has political ambitions or those sort of things. And so the term, I use that term, railway diplomacy, and I think we should put quote and unquote to my term. And to answer your question, I quite agree with you. It's of great significance in China building so many railways, and mainly in Africa, in the developing countries, because the high-speed railway has very high threshold. Yeah, it has for requirement for electric power, requirement for fund, and requirement for density of population and all those sort of things. And right now, China is doing a lot in the developing countries, but actually, comparatively speaking, the developing countries lack necessary condition. And the major market is in the developed countries, but it's very difficult to enter the developed countries, a very high price. But
Yeah.
I'm sure, and let me use that term, quote and unquote, and railway, high-speed railway diplomacy will leave a very important legacy. And the effect will be seen in, for instance, in 5 years, or to say longer, in 10 years. And it is of great significance.
So you guys are meaning that diplomacy is only just a side effect of our
Yeah.
infrastructure investment.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.